Upcoming episodes on the Flying Monkey podcast. Country music artist Grant Malloy Smith. 3-time Grammy Award winner Ricky Cage. Actor-musician, the one and only Chris Mulkey. Father's rights advocate Robert Garza. And new episodes of Parent Stories. Go to flyingmonkeypodcast.com and select your favorite social media site to join us. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Rumble. And don't forget to check out our sponsors, Open Darkness and Stop the Abuse. You can find more information at www.hopeanddarkness.me, a common sense solution to parental alienation. Let us help you get your kids back. And www.stoptheabuse.info. It's time for change. Together, we can stop the abuse. You're watching the Flying Monkey Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Flying Monkey Podcast. And we are going to have another parent here telling their story. His name is Jeffrey. He's up in Canada. Hey, Jeffrey, how are you?
Not too bad, Tommy. How you doing?
Tell us a little bit about your story, maybe starting from the beginning and where it's at.
Yeah, so me and the ex were having some trouble in our relationship in multiple different areas. And I was just having a hard time trying to fix the relationship and things like that. And since I broke up with her, actually the day that I broke up with her, she actually took my child the next day. And I had no way to, I called the police. The police obviously can't do anything because there's no paperwork involved. And since that day, I've got to see my daughter twice in 9 months. So yeah, that's been the real hard thing for me, is that I want a relationship with my daughter, and the only one I can currently have is with video calls. So yeah, I want to be an active father in her life, but I'm just not allowed to. And with the court system that we currently have, it's not really allowing me to get any kind of counsel to help me out with that. So I'm kind of in that spot where I get no help from the government or help from anybody else, and I'm forced to just fight for myself and try to save up for that big money for the court case.
It's really a hard situation. So it's been going on. So now it's been 9 months. Is that the time frame? Okay. And then how many times do you get to see your child?
I've only got to see her twice. Oh, a video call. I can have video calls every night, but there's a problem with that as well, is that the mother's not willing to, like, my daughter is young. She's not able to have video calls where she can sit up and hold the phone herself. Right. So that's another issue, is that when I do get the video calls, most of the time it's just me staring at the walls or at the ceiling, because she gives the phone to my daughter, and my daughter's too young to sit there and be in the frame and everything like that. So it almost makes it more stressful to contact her sometimes because of that. Right. And then the ex always turns around and makes it seem like I'm not consistent in my calls. But the problem is, the consistency would be there if the mental stress wasn't there. And that's the problem, because sometimes it just gets too much to try and have those the video calls.
No, I understand. And I personally, I actually go through the same thing and went through the same thing. They just like to, it's like they just play this little game with you, and they just drop the phone and let it show the ceiling. And they're like, well, are you going to talk to them? And they do these things. It's pretty bad. So one trick I did do is I just started reading stories. So maybe that could help you too. Although you just know she's going to hear your voice, and just, buy the little 5-minute stories and read them. Like, read the story like a professional,
Oh, no, you got to put all the heart into it. You got to be silly. Kids love that. You know what I mean? And also just something for your viewers as well, is that what I've been doing is I started a email address for my daughter, and I write to her each day. So that way, when she gets old enough, she's going to have access to that. And because every day I miss her, but it's hard for me to say that to her sometimes. So yeah, that's what I've started doing anyway. So hopefully eventually she'll get a hold of that to see that, I wasn't missing. I wasn't not there. It's not my choice, and that I love her still. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Another thing too you can do is do videos. I do a lot of videos, just out and about and seeing something funny that he would love to see. I'm like, hey man, check it out, da da da. And then you just email that to the email as well. So the attachment's there. So that's another thing to add to it. and they can just see the whole timeline. Um, so you have a case in court right now as it is,
Yeah,
or no?
she has a lawyer through legal aid and she's supposedly starting things, but when they offered me mediation, what they wanted me to do was so I could have 4 hours a month visitation, supervised visits, and at the cost of me signing over all my rights to my child. I was never willing to take that. I'm not going to take that. I can't live with myself to say that I signed over my rights to my child to get 4 hours. It's basically they're dangling a carrot in front of my face that I'm not going to bite at. So it's
Yeah,
unfortunate, but you know what I mean? The 4 hours will be better than nothing, but I can't give up my rights to my child.
it's hard to say
Yeah,
no, and they because you think you're going to get your 4 hours, but then you got to pay them too for what, and
that's
then
exactly.
they're going to write some crazy report. Maybe, maybe not. It depends on the person, but the majority of the time, it seems that they do write a negative report that's not true and based on no facts and no observation of and how did all this become and happen. And
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
all just a bunch of shenanigans. And then you get 5 minutes and you still got
Yeah.
to pay
So that's
whatever price. It's completely insane.
Yeah, it is. So when I first when we first broke up, she tried to tell me that I'm unfit and unable to look after a child because I have no experience. So I went to the parenting courses by myself. Nobody ordered me to go. I went to get my certificate. That's a government approved program. And so the lady that was there, she encourages the whole family to be there. But the ex didn't want to be there. So she actually told me that if you want and you want to invite your daughter and your ex over, after the meetings, we can give you a 1 hour time meetings. Well, she didn't show up for the first one. And the second one, she came 45 minutes late. So I got about 15 minutes with my daughter. That was the first visit that I got. And
Wow.
then so that was really rough because the person that was heading that program was really animate about having a father in the child's life because we all know that they shouldn't be away from their either parent for at the age of my child for 2 or 3 days. And that's kind of what the ex throws back in my face too. But when I asked for week on week off custody, I'm like, under that thought process, why are you leaving her away from me for months on end? Then you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's when it works for her, she agrees with it. When it doesn't, yeah, she doesn't agree
Yeah.
with it. So
It's yeah. And the statistics show too that, you know, I mean, I wish I had a mommy, but I don't. But the
yeah,
statistics show that, um, kids that grow up without a father in their life is puts them at every statistical risk in the book. And
yeah,
it's, being with a father alone is the same as being with two parents together. And then all the risks get started when they're not without a father in the home. So
yeah.
that means, you
I've
know,
actually looked into it. Suicide risk goes up, depression goes up, teen pregnancy goes up. Like there's the list just keeps going on. It's just I'm not sure if the ex really understands that or if she just doesn't want to accept it. Right. Because I explain all this to her. I send her articles constantly saying about how, two parents are better than one, always will be. And there's also things that you can't really learn from either parent. Like we're both different people. Right. So I have things
exactly.
that I can teach her that she's not going to be able to teach her. And you know what I mean? Me not having that opportunity to teach my daughter right now, that's kind of killing me because it's their developmental years. So
Yeah, no, exactly. There's a reason, for 7 million years of human existence, there was a mother and a father and an
yeah,
extended family and grandma and grandpa on both sides and aunts and uncles, and we were all
yeah,
together. And it seems that slowly but surely, uh, the ruling classes have divided us and sent us off on our solo adventures. It's about the family,
yeah,
taking kids away and is horrible. Putting, old folks in the nursing home, that's horrible. All that stuff.
yeah,
We're supposed to take care of each other and learn from each other and teach each other and band together. And, that's
yeah.
the most important thing. And kids need to see both mom and dad interacting in a positive manner in order for them to learn to interact with their relationships in the future in a proper manner.
Yes,
And
and yeah, I totally agree with you there because that's what I want. I want to have a respectable relationship where we're on talking terms so that we can say hi and bye as we're exchanging the child and things like that. But she just doesn't want to work with me on that at all. And that's really
well,
hard for me.
I mean, this seems like it's the same template of these people who alienate. It's the same personality. It's just they're all the same. They're very insecure and they need to have that control over everything to make themselves feel worth something. And all they're
Yeah,
doing is just hurting their own children, and the extended family and everyone down the road. It's very abusive and very hurtful. So in your case, have you also encountered, because I hear a lot of people, this seems to be a tactic that either the lawyers start parents on or the parents know about it and they do it too. It's false allegations. So has that come up in your cases at all?
Yeah, that's affected me right from the beginning. So within the first month, there was all kinds of talk about abuse. And that's the thing that really killed me, is because I'm not a abusive person physically nor verbally. I'm actually a very supportive parent, and just to hear that, it was kind of breaking me back, because like when me and the ex broke up, we were talking about like, hey, listen, we should stay together just for now, for the baby, until we can both save up money, until we can, move off in our separate lives and stuff. And then all of a sudden it turned into, oh, I'm an abuser and this and that. But the problem is with the allegations is like you have to prove yourself innocent first, right? They can just throw out any allegation they want. And
Yeah.
that's the big issue for me, right? Is that I know they're all false allegations, but I can't do anything right now to defend myself, right?
Yeah. And it's supposed to be the other way around. You're innocent until proven guilty is the way
Yeah,
the law is set up. And it's funny how the court system doesn't seem to follow any of the laws. I mean, because it's such a simple problem. There's two people that they want to separate their, dissolve the relationship.
yeah,
So, the courts can do it in an easy manner. It's just, okay, what do we got here? We got property, we got finances, and we got kids. Okay, so 50-50 on all the property, unless one of the parties who's not going to live there can afford to live somewhere else. Are you willing to keep that place? Or if not, then we sell it off and divide the money. You each got your part. Finances, get your part. Kids, you both have 100% right to your children, 100% right to your children. So we have to divide the time 50-50 and share that time. And
yeah,
it won't be perfectly 50-50. I mean, it doesn't always work out that way, but it's simple. And then you just the judge has to I mean, you could do this in one day. This
yeah,
could be all completed. And if the parents are, they always say high conflict, but it's really not. It's more so the lawyers that create, and the court that creates the high conflict. And then they
yeah.
bring in psychologists where there's no need for that. And they just stir the pot and make it worse. And it becomes a complete nightmare. And just seems to be about making money. And,
Yeah,
and,
it is. And you see, my
one,
biggest problem is this: is why don't we have anything in place between now and the court date so that we can get this settled? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there should be some process in place between now and the final court date that allows me some kind of temporary visitations, something. But that's the problem. You're just kind of left by your own. There's no government oversee on any of that. There's no programs for that. It's basically you just got to wait your time out unless you can, solve it with your other ex partner. But that's usually harder said than done, right?
yeah, it's impossible. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
they say it takes two, but it really doesn't. It takes
Yeah.
one.
No.
Are you a victim of parental alienation? HopeInDarkness.me introduces a House on Fire Academy, the only online training program to help you rescue your kids. Become certified in the application of science-based court rescue skills. The program includes classes, courts rehearsals, proficiency reviews, inarguable evidence collection, motion development proficiency tests, and certificates. Sign up today and start the journey to getting your kids back.
And that's the thing too. You're right about all this. If a mediator can get all that solved in a month, then why can't our judicial system? Right. And if
Yeah.
kids are that important to the judicial system, why can't we expedite some of these processes to make sure that you're not without your child for 3 years before you get to see him? Because that's the current outlook for me, is that I see most people are minimum 2 to 3 years out when the court case starts from able to see their child. And 2 to 3 years is a long time to go without your child. Like, you're missing so many different things. Like, my daughter went from just speaking normal words to now she's able to carry conversations, right? She understands what you're saying and everything. So it's hard for me too, is just to watch her grow up on a video stream, right? There's so many
Oh,
things
yeah.
that I want to teach her, so many things that I want to do with her. And it's like, it really breaks me down during the video calls is when she wants to play with me. And she asks me, oh, can you play with me, daddy? And then she's forced to like push me around in her baby stroller. Like, that's so mentally abusive to me. It's not even funny. Like, I don't see a reason why. And my ex currently says, oh, well, it's because it was cold weather. That's why we didn't have any normal visits. And when I brought it up when the summer started coming around here in Canada, I'm still getting the same results of, no visitations, because it doesn't take much to let me see my daughter for once a week. I never get a fair agreement from any of her lawyers. They just try and take me to the cleaners on everything and give me the bare minimum. And
Yeah.
like I've offered to pay child support, she has refused. She refuses child support, but then she'll turn it around as an, oh, you haven't supported your daughter. It's like, listen, have you ever asked me for anything that I haven't give you? No. And I've always said I'm there for my daughter to give her whatever she wants. I've tried to put her on my own health care and dental care. She wouldn't give it. She wouldn't give me all the information because then she would have to give me her address. So, and like we live in a small town. If I really want to find her address, I drive around. Like it's, we're not in a huge town, right? So it's like I don't
Yeah.
really care where you live. I just want to see my child. It's
Yeah.
just really unfortunate.
It's, it's, it's
And like in the end, like nothing would make me happier than just have a respectful relationship between all three of us, right? Like I want what's best for my child, and I need to see her to be in a good shape for my child. She has to raise my child 50% of the time. I want what's best for her too, right?
exactly.
And that's
You know,
the problem with narcissistic people is that they think about themselves and they claim it's for other people, but at the cost of my daughter and my relationship, which is super unfortunate, right?
yeah. Well, it's beyond just narcissists. There's other issues. I mean, and that
Oh
term
yeah.
seems to be very loosely used, like a lot of terms these days. They just all these new words we're using, but you know, they're very abusive and they're very sadistic, and they get pleasure from hurting you, and
Yeah.
that's the serious truth.
Yeah.
These people enjoy, and that goes for some of the people in the system as well. They really get off on destroying lives and hurting people, and it's insane. It's completely
And
insane.
that's one of the big problems. Like I told her, I was like, "You're beating me down mentally. You're beating me down physically. Like, it's like, is this really what's best for our child? To break me down mentally, financially, you know what I mean, physically. And then when I
Yeah.
finally do get her back, I'm a shell of my old person."
Well, that's how they create the narrative of saying dads walk away or parents, you know, they because they can't take it anymore, and some just give in. And there's a huge
Yeah.
suicide rate amongst parents that are alienated from their children too.
And I
You know,
totally get that.
so just talking about it with other people. There's support groups, there's people out there, you know, so just talking about it, even this conversation for both of us can help us, and
Yeah.
just getting it off our chest. And that in itself is your therapy too. And so,
Yeah.
but then you find people that you talk to and they're like, nah, they don't believe a word you're saying.
And that's the problem too, is everybody keeps going back to, oh, you must have did something, right? You must be some kind of bad parent in some way. Like, you know, you're a drinker, you're on drugs, you're abusive. And it's like, no, man, you can be a great parent and still be alienated like I'm currently being done, and probably just like yourself, right? Like you don't have to make mistakes to not have your child,
Yeah,
unfortunately. And that's the
exactly.
way the system's set up. Like,
Oh, exactly. You can do everything perfect and they're still going to play the same game on you. And the other thing that's important, because, you know, there's a lot of division that I see with mothers and fathers and all this stuff. The trend that I've noticed is that it seems to be the more abusive parent ends up getting the custody. So it
yeah,
seems to be something intentional that you know, to hurt, like the good guys are bad now and the bad guys are good. All it does that hurts the child. And again, we were talked about this a little earlier. It just puts them in it's such risk, and it's gonna mess them up.
yeah. And then it's the realization from the other partners that's not really seeing that either, right? It's like it doesn't take that much time to research that two parents are better than one, and they're at risk for so many other things that are bad grades, like I said, teen pregnancy, like suicide risks. It's like drug abuse. Like you're putting the child, and I'm not sure if it's because they're so young that they're not seeing it, because I think my ex is smart enough to understand that she is harming my child, but maybe she's oblivious to it. I'm just not sure. That's
Well,
one thing that's going to puzzle me forever.
it's intentional, and they don't care, because you
Yeah.
can send them all the statistics, you can with all the proof, you can send them a story, here, this is what happened. You can even send them a movie to watch or a video that's real and not made up, and they're still going to ignore it, and it's intentional. So they don't have the ability to reason, they don't have the ability to be honest, and they don't have the ability to love, because if you love someone, you don't hurt them
And that's what
intentionally.
kind of, yeah, and that's what kind of gets me to it. It's like, listen, we were together for 4 years and we had a child together. How do you go from absolutely, like, you know what I mean, to loving somebody, to absolutely wanting to destroy their lives, right? Like that gets me. I'd never want that. Like as much as she's done to me right now, I still wish her the best. I want her to do the best. She's gonna raise my child half the time. I need her to be in good spirits. I need her to be in a good mental state. I need her to have a good job and all that stuff. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. And even with me, it's like I don't know the tactics that are going on, but she will not do she has rescinded her daycare. So she won't. She was on a daycare list and she won't take it anymore. And I think that's a ploy to keep her legal aid up, because I think if she gets a job, she'll be having to get off of legal aid, and then she'll have no legal representation, just like myself, right? So I don't know the tactics exactly that are going on there, but I know she will
Yeah.
not go back to work. I know that she just canceled her daycare. So I don't know who's telling her to do this stuff, because honestly, I can't see a lawyer telling her this is all good ideas, but I don't really know the lawyers or this system too well, so that it quite well could be going on.
All it's doing is hurting society as a whole, because you're creating individuals and people that won't be able to function properly, and they're going to be cruel to others. They're going to be dysfunctional. They're not going to be able to hold a job. They're going to be in jail. They're going to be drug addicts, on down the line, like we had mentioned with the risks. And it destroys society and causes
Yeah,
chaos.
I just wish that the lawyers had they had the child's best interest actually at heart, but I just don't feel like that's there. I believe it's totally above that of the what the child actually needs, what the other parent should be getting. I think it's more of, just like you said, it's a money thing, and like they have a client to try to win for. They don't care how they win. They're going to do everything they can, every seedy way they can, to find ways to not let you win, right? And that's I think that's where we fail as a system.
Yeah, no, exactly. And a lot of times, I mean, in my learning and listening to all these stories and people I've talked to, you know, I had someone talking about the family courts and their obligations as lawyers and stuff, and they're obligated to each other. They're obligated to protect the court first, then to the bar association that they belong, which is just it's their team. And so
Yeah,
and I've seen cases they barely try to defend it.
yeah.
They just kind of let things slide and like, oh, we can't do that. We're going to look bad. And that by not doing that, that just allows the other party to win, and they don't care because they're all going to get paid
Yeah,
in the end.
yeah,
So they
and
don't.
that's the problem. It's the money. It's the money being involved that really makes it the troublesome here. Like, it shouldn't be all about money when you're dealing with children. It should be about just the best interest of the child. But unfortunately, that's not what I'm seeing. I'm just seeing everything has to do with money. And
Yep.
there's a big gray area here in Canada where you're just not covered for anything. And it's like, for me to start my whole case, I need a $10,000 retainer, and eventually it's going to cost me 72,000. So like for me, like we went through a little bit of while we were just before we broke up, I actually lost my job for 3 months. First time ever that I had been without a job for 3 months. So I was already in a financial bind, right?
Yeah.
And then to try to come to court and try to start the court and everything, it's like I got denied for legal aid twice. You know what I mean? And there's just it's I don't have family with money, so I'm just forced to work and save until I can get up to that amount. It's still, this is 9 months of me fighting for, you know what I mean? I should be able to see
Yeah.
my child
No,
in between this time anyways.
no,
And it shouldn't
exactly.
be about the money.
Are there
Yeah.
any groups or organizations that you've found where you've actually gotten support or
Yeah.
learned?
Like, I get support from this was the Father's Rights Movement, but now it's called the Father's War Room. But actually just speaking with everybody else and hearing how they're dealing with it all, like you said, that's the therapy, right? Like, I never thought I'd be on a Facebook group so much and be so into it, because it actually is my therapy. It makes me feel better that I'm not the only one, but it also is a little discerning to see that many other fathers out there in the same situation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have found things like that, but I've went to the ends of the world to try and even get the money. I tried to start a GoFundMe because I was that desperate to try and get my daughter back. That didn't work. Like, yeah, I've actually went to the MPPs, or members of parliament here in Canada, and they couldn't help me at all. Like, I've tried all the lawyers here in town. I'm in a smaller town with 60,000 people, so we don't have that many lawyers. So I've called every lawyer's office and tried to say, hey, listen, like, I've got 5,000 right now. Can you take that to start the case, and then I can work out some kind of payment deal? And I'm getting nowhere with that either.
Yeah. That's insane. That's
Yeah.
insane. Yeah. Well, the numbers I was seeing is it's 300 million families are going through this around the world. That's one reason for this podcast too, is to try to unite all of us together, because mothers and fathers, and to protect the children, save the kids, and make the world a better place. Because when you have happy kids that are functional and they know how to treat people properly, and it's just basically right and wrong and being good to each other, and that's all it takes. So and I see a lot of groups fighting with each other, and parents attacking other parents in the same support group. It's like, what's wrong with you? And it's just a sign of the times of how people are acting, and it's just like, it's not okay.
That's what
Yeah,
I support
exactly.
in the end. That's all I care about is support for all the children. I don't care if it's a male or female, mother or father. Everybody has the right to see their child and have a functioning relationship with their child.
Exactly. And that makes for a better world. Any other comments?
Yeah, just to all the other parents that are out there dealing with it, just hold on. You know what I mean? Do your best to keep in a positive mind state. And just personally by myself, I find that I have good days and I have some really terrible days. But yeah, just stick with it. You know what I mean? As hard as it is, you're eventually going to get your child back because there's nothing there. But it's just a hard time to go through. So yeah, just reach out and support each other as well. You know, show love and respect. That's all I want for everybody. Right.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeffrey. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for coming on the show, and hopefully maybe we'll have you back again, and we'll get an update on how things are going for you.
Yep, that won't be a problem. Thank you very much for my therapy session here. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the Flying Monkey podcast. Like, follow, and subscribe to our social media sites on Facebook, X, YouTube, Rumble, TikTok, and Truth Social. You can also go straight to our webpage at www.flyingmonkeypodcast.com.